Hello and welcome all now. We are moving practice at dash 3. You can read the overview of yourself. But once again, a reminder that you are using either Composer or a BPM in Studio. Again, you have the choice in this practice. You obviously had to use Process Composer back in ATES to create the web form, but now we have a choice here. Notice the note at the very beginning. You can use either one. We recommend you stay with the one you have been working with these lab practice demonstrations. I have been using Process Composer, so I'm going to continue with that. However, there are some instructions if you are using Studio. There are a couple of details instructions you need to use to make sure that you have got the latest version in your project environment. So obviously we are not going to do that because we are going to move right on to step 2 because that one doesn't apply to this. In step 2, using this tool you have selected, in our case it's a process composer, we are going to map the data for the capture loan request, and it gives us a hint how to do it. Actually, a couple of hints. We are just simply going to use the detailed instruction as always, so you can follow along with what I'm doing. So step A, open loan application for editing and open the loan process. Well, right now it's not open for editing, but for continuity, I'm going to go ahead and close all of my tabs here just to start at sample place. So I'm at my project home now, and I'm going to go ahead and open it for editing, and there we'll go. All right, step next. Step B on the toolbar. Click data objects. Okay, so that's right up here. This is for our loan process. So let's open up the loan process, and we are looking for the data objects. And if you are not sure which one it is, you can scroll over which one until you find out. It's this one right here. So I click on that, and the next instruction says we are going to click add and select the process data object. So step D says we are going to call it loan to DO. So let's go ahead and add a process data object. We are call it loan DO. What about the data types? Well, it's the we are going to select object data type and make sure that we use loan for as our business object. Of course, in our case, it's probably the only one we have object. And if I do my drop down, I can see, oh, actually, there is the task education data we talked about in our lecture. But yes, we are going to choose loan form, click OK. And so now we have a data object called loan DO, which is complex, but data object type associated with that same form first data object from our web form that we created earlier. All right, step E to close the data objects windows. Let's do that there. And step F, right click capture loan request and select data association because we want to pop up this data association box. All right, so capture loan request, right click and data association, and sure enough, there it pops up or us. Notice these are going to be the inputs it can take, and these are the outputs that it will provide. This provides a placeholder to map those inputs to, and over here this provides a placeholder for those outputs to come to. In fact, it's a label input and output. It's very easy to tell. And over here on the right is a list of all my data objects that are in the scope for me in this process. Notice the fold we originally created and loan data object that we just created a moment ago. All right, so let's go to our next step. It says in data association map the loan due as both input and output. And of course, it says if it disappears, you can simply click apply and reopen. We'll see how that works. So we are going to drag loan due as input and output. So I'll drag it over here as its input. I notice it gave me a little plus where I could lay it if I try to see it's still red, still red, still red, still red. But if I put in the box, it will go there. Now notice it will let me put it in the wrong place if I don't want to map it here because that doesn't make sense. So sense. But put a string into, but here I'm getting the right tab into the right place, and it puts it in there for me. Very good. Of course, apply to change this. We want that's it. Uh, and this is because these are so step three, mapping data review learner preparation is this skip screenshot. Notice the only difference uh, before. Notice the only thing different here is it says we are going to assume that the loan processor can modify the loan application, which means we'll need both input and output. And the review outcome gateway checks the value of what the review outcome data object. So with that clue, let's go do that. This is the review loan application. We'll click on it. Right click on data associations, and again we want to map the loan data object into the loan form. Uh, we want to get the loan form and put that back into the data object in case he modified it, and its outcome is going to be used as to check to see where we should go. And if you recall, the instruction said what? Yes, it says that review outcome data object is what we are going to use in our design. So I'll take that data object, which is string, capturing the results of what the outcome from this step will be. That was easy. BPM Studio mapping looks similar. We are going to move on to step 4 since we are not using BPM Studio, and we're going to the same things for the underwriter review task. And it asks us a couple of questions as well that we're going to get into. So let's go ahead and do the mapping first. Let's go to apply those changes, and now let's go down for the underwriter review. Again, data associations, and I'm going to put the loan data object as an input, the loan data object as an output. And now the outcome of this needs to be captured into string variable. And we have such thing called underwriter review. So let's use that right there. And let's apply that before we forget. But let me open that back up so we can look at that one more time to answer our questions. Our first question is, do we need to map the data object both input and output? And so those who say I did, but technically the answer is up to us. It depends. Do we accept that the writer would make a configuration and update changes to the loan form? Probably not, but what if we had comments or something you could add in that? So we have done that. And the next question is, what outcomes does this user task have? Remember, this is going to be the underwriter review, which will come in the approver or reject as a good reminder. Step 5, display validation errors for the project. If there are any validation errors for the three tasks to get away, let's fix the problem and check that again later. So let's get ready to do that. We accept to see something like this. Let me go ahead and apply those changes again, closing it all up. Let's go ahead and do a save, and let's do a validation check here. And yeah, I have still got those five validation errors which I would accept, but it means so far I haven't made any additional mistakes. I have still got some other things to do, like conditional sequence flows and some other things longer, but I haven't made any additional mistakes, so there is no longer any validation errors related to the task. That's true. And step 6 is my save my changes. Let me go ahead and close this box, hit that save again, and it says publish revised project. So I reminder, if we are using studio, you do that by saving it to bam. We are going to the these instructions in the composer, go to the publish, release the lock, and provide some sort of an appropriate comment. So let's go to the publish, release the log, and I'll simply put completed steps in practice 8 dash 3. Again, it publishes to palm. So that's it's been saved, and then we have a couple of more requests. Step 8, if you are using Composer, close the project and log out. So let me close the process, close the project, and go ahead and log out. And step 9, it says restart the admin server. And again, we have done that before. We are going to stop the admin server, and we're going to double click to start it back up again. So let's go ahead and do that now. Stop admin server. We are going to wait for it to. Here the terminal where the admin server was running. This is going to connect to our server. Again, the reason we logged out is so that we don't have to wait too long. It can do a graceful shutdown right away since there are no user sessions on the server, and some were typically between 20 seconds and 60 seconds closed down. And as you can see, mine has gone down. Finally, our final step says we need to double click and start the uh, admin server again. And remember, I don't like double. Uh, but for us, we have completed the practice exercise. This is complete practice. Yes, 3. Thank you.